I died choking on my own vomit in a holding cell, the taste of cheap prison wine burning my throat as the noose of fabricated evidence tightened around my neck, metaphorically, at first, then literally when I couldn't take it anymore. The last thing I remembered was his voice, smooth as silk over shattered glass. Transfer the grant funds, Harmony. It's just paperwork. Trust me. And then the door burst open, federal agents swarming like locusts, badges flashing under the fluorescent lights of my corner office at Stanford. I was the fall guy, the idealistic postdoc who'd signed her own death warrant with a few keystrokes, while he, my mentor and lover, Dr. Elias Crow, slipped away into the ether of tenure and alibis. But death isn't the end in Silicon Valley dreams. It's a glitch, a reboot. I woke up gasping in my old twin bed in the cramped Palo Alto apartment I'd shared with 3 other grad students back in 22, the year before it all went to hell. My hands, younger, unscarred by the handcuffs, clutched sweat-soaked sheets printed with faded rocket ships from my undergrad days. The clock on the nightstand blinked, 3:17 a.m., September 15th. Not just any morning. The morning after the gala where Elias had whispered those fateful words into my ear over champagne flutes. I'd been given a second chance, a cosmic do-over laced with venom. And this time, I wouldn't sip the poison. I'd brew it. The hook of it all hit me like a freight train derailing in the fog. I was alive again, but the rage was a live wire, sparking memories of the trial where my confession was played on loop. Coerced, of course, after 48 hours without sleep or counsel. The jury's eyes, cold as the Pacific in winter, sealing my fate for embezzlement, fraud, the works. 20 years, they said, but I didn't make it past the first transfer to appeals. Elias? He testified against me, his face a mask of feigned sorrow, pocketing the diverted millions for his offshore research foundation. The betrayal wasn't just professional. It was personal, visceral. We'd built dreams together, late nights in the lab, his hand on my waist during faculty mixers, promises of co-authorship on the paper that would rocket us both to Nobel whispers. Instead, he fed me to the wolves to cover his gambling debts to Russian oligarchs who'd infiltrated the grant pipeline. I sat up, heart pounding like a war drum, and grabbed my phone. No smartphones back then. No, this was 22, so my beat-up iPhone SE buzzed with a text from him. Missed you after the gala. Lab tomorrow. We need to talk about the transfer. XOE. The words blurred through tears I hadn't shed since the first life. Talk. Oh, we'd talk, all right. But not about grants. About graves. By dawn, I'd mapped it out on a yellow legal pad, the kind my lit professor mom used to hoard. Step 1. Document everything without tipping my hand. Step 2. Build alliances with the ghosts of my past allies. Undergrads who'd ghosted me post-arrest, reporters sniffing around the scandal. Step 3. The revenge. Not petty, surgical. Elias thought he was untouchable, a tenured god in the ivory tower. But gods bleed when you know where the arteries are. I showered under scalding water, scrubbing away the phantom itch of suicide watch scrubs, and dressed in the power armor of my old life. Slim black jeans, a crisp white blouse, and the blazer with elbow patches that screamed serious academic to the suits upstairs. Palo Alto traffic was a snarl of Teslas and Priuses, tech bros honking like they owned the asphalt. I blasted NPR on the radio, some segment on academic fraud in the biotech boom, to steal my nerves. Stanford's campus unfolded like a fever dream. Palm trees swaying against brutalist concrete, students in hoodies clutching overpriced lattes, oblivious to the rot beneath. The lab was a hive of fluorescent hum and whirring sequencers, my domain as the postdoc wrangling Elias's pet project on CRISPR-edited neural implants for Alzheimer's. We'd pitched it as the holy grail, memory restoration for the aging elite. In reality, it was a Trojan horse for data harvesting, patient brain scans sold to big pharma under the table. I logged in, fingers flying over the keyboard, and buried myself in the grant portal. There it was, the innocent-looking form for reallocating NIH funds, timestamped for tomorrow's approval. In my first life, I'd clicked submit without a second thought, high on his praise and the promise of a ring after tenure. Today, I hesitated, cursor hovering like a guillotine blade. A ping from the door chime. Elias, striding in with that predatory grace, salt and pepper hair tousled just so, Armani slacks hugging his runner's legs. At 45, he was the campus Adonis, charming deans and donors alike. Harmony, he purred, leaning over my shoulder, his cologne, sandalwood and sin, invading my space. You look radiant this morning. Gala jitters gone. I forced a smile, the kind that didn't reach my eyes, and swiveled to face him. Up close, the micro-expressions betrayed him. The faint tick in his jaw, the way his gaze flicked to the screen. He knew I was the weak link, the ambitious nobody from a nowhere town in Ohio who'd fuck up for the flicker of his approval. All good, Elias. Just double-checking the numbers. Can't be too careful with federal eyes on us. His laugh was a velvet trap. That's my girl. Speaking of, that transfer, we need it done by end of day. It's for the supplemental trial in Reno. Off books, but it'll get us the data we need. Trust me. There it was. The hook sinking deeper. In the first go-round, I'd nodded, heart swelling with misplaced loyalty. Now, I saw the lie for what it was, a breadcrumb trail to his escape hatch. The supplemental trial was code for laundering cash through sham clinics, funds vanishing into his Cayman accounts. Of course, I said, voice steady as a surgeon's hand. But what if we loop in Carla from compliance? Just to cover bases. His eyes narrowed, a shark scenting blood. Carla? She's a buzzkill. This is us, Harm. You and me against the machine. He cupped my chin, thumb brushing my lip. A gesture that once ignited fire, now just ash. I leaned into it, playing the part, while my mind raced. Carla. She'd been my first casualty, fired for insubordination after questioning his expense reports. In this life, she'd be my shield. The day blurred into a frenzy of pipettes and protocols, but I was a ghost in my own skin, eavesdropping on calls, snapping covert pics of his calendar syncs. Lunch was a solo affair at the faculty club, where I cornered Professor Lena Vasquez, the ethics watchdog who'd testified neutrally at my trial, too neutrally. Harmony, darling, she said over Cobb salads, her silver bob impeccable. You seem different, sharper. I leaned in, dropping the bomb casual as cream and coffee. Ever wonder why Elias's grants always audit clean? I've got receipts, metaphorical ones, for now. But if you're game, I could make them real. Her fork paused midair, eyes gleaming like a cat in low light. Child, that's career suicide. Or rocket fuel. Which is it for you? Revenge, I whispered, dressed as justice. By evening, the lab emptied, leaving us alone under the hum of the fume hood. Elias poured us scotch from the drawer stash, Macallan 18, his weakness, and pulled me onto the worn leather couch we'd christened more times than I cared to count. To us, he toasted, clinking glasses. His free hand traced my thigh, expectant. I sipped, the burn a reminder of that cell. To truths, I countered. He didn't catch the edge. As his lips met mine, I slipped a tiny recorder, procured from Lena's contact at the campus PD, into his pocket. Let it capture the pillow talk that would unravel him. That night, alone in my apartment, I transcribed the audio, murmurs of the drop in Reno. Victor will handle the rest, names I'd buried with my dignity. Victor, his oligarch bookie, the shadow pulling strings. Sleep came fitful, haunted by the slam of the cell door, but morning brought clarity. Phase 2, allies. I started with Jake, my ex-lab mate, now a whistleblower in waiting. We'd bonded over bad takeout and worse funding cuts. He'd visited me in lockup once, eyes wet, before his career imploded under Elias's smear campaign. A burner email from a VPN, coffee, secrets to share, the kind that rewrite histories. He showed at the roastery on El Camino, nursing a black drip, his once boyish face lined with adjunct poverty. Harmony, you look like you saw a ghost. I did, I said, sliding into the booth. Mine. Jake, what if I told you I know how the cards fall? Elias isn't just skimming, he's drowning in it. And I'm the life raft he plans to sink. His jaw slackened, then hardened. Proof. I emailed the audio file, watching his phone light up. As he listened, color drained from his cheeks. Jesus, this is dynamite. But why now? Trial's years off. Because I can't wait for karma. I replied, voice low. She's a lazy bitch. We make it happen. We plotted over refills. Jake to the student paper with anonymized leaks, me to the feds with a sanitized tip line. But revenge isn't a straight shot. It's a boomerang, and mine curved toward the controversial. The first real test came mid-October, during the fall symposium. Elias was keynote, schmoozing donors in the packed auditorium. His slides a hypnotic reel of neural miracles. I sat front row, smile plastered, but my laptop ran parallel, a live feed hacking his presenter notes via the lab's unsecured Wi-Fi. Buried in the metadata? Bank transfers to consulting fees. VR. Victor. Post-talk, as applause thundered, I cornered him backstage with a donor's widow, Mrs. Hargrove, whose late husband's foundation bankrolled us. Elias, a word on the ethics panel? I chirped, steering him toward the green room. She followed, pearls clacking like judgment bells. Inside, door clicked shut. I dropped the veil. Mrs. Hargrove, did Elias mention how your funds fuel Reno trials? Or that they're vanishing into personal ventures? Elias's face twisted, charm fracturing. Harmony, what the hell? Or perhaps you'd like to see the ledgers? I tapped open my tablet, projections glowing. Diversions, dates, dollar signs. Her gasp was oxygen to my starved lungs. You snake, he hissed, lunging for the device. I sidestepped, years of yoga paying off, and she backed away, phone already dialing security. Call it evolution, I shot back. Survival of the least corrupt. He was detained that night. Not arrested, not yet, but the whispers spread like West Nile through the quad. Donors pulled strings, audits loomed. Elias texted Fury, what game is this? We had a deal. Deals break, I replied. Like promises. But the real storm brewed in shadows. Victor, sensing the noose, reached out through a proxy. A burly Russian expat consultant tailing me from lectures to the gym. Late one night, as fog rolled off the bay, he cornered me in the parking garage, tires screeching, headlights pinning me like a specimen. Dr. Crow says hello. Back off, or family in Ohio gets postcards. My mom, widowed, frail, the only anchor I'd lost twice over. Heart slamming, I palmed the pepper spray from my keychain, but he was faster, hand clamping my wrist. Elias thinks you're bluffing. I know better. Twist of fate. Campus cams caught it all. By morning, the expat was in cuffs, spilling to the FBI about the syndicate's hooks in academia. Elias? Questioned, released on bond, but the cracks spiderwebbed. He called, voice a razor. You bitch. This ends now. Does it? I laughed, the sound foreign in my throat. Or does it just begin? November brought the holidays early. Thanksgiving with Lena's crew, a war council disguised as turkey and pie. Jake's leaks hit the Chronicle. Stanford scandal. Grant graft, or genius gone wrong? Elias lawyered up, painting me as the jilted lover, unstable, vengeful. The comments sections ignited. Cancel Elias trending, but so did Stand with Harmony, pitting feminists against fiscal hawks. Controversy was my ally, the gasoline on the pyre. Yet doubt not. Was I hero or heel? The decisions piled up, each grayer than the last. Leak the patient data to expose the sham trials? Risk lives for leverage. Seduce a board member for insider dirt? Betray my own code. In the mirror, my reflection stared back, older eyes in a young face, haunted by the cell's echo. The climax crashed on a rain-lashed December Eve, the kind where Santa Ana winds howl like banshees. Elias summoned me to the lab. Email terse. We end this. Midnight. Come alone. I arrived early, rain slicking my coat, recorder whirring in my bra. The building loomed gothic against the storm, halls empty save for the drip of leaks. He waited in the sequencer room, silhouette backlit by blinking consoles, a bottle of that Macallan dangling from his fingers. You ruined everything, he snarled, advancing. The paper, the tenure, Victor's calling in markers. They'll bury us both. Us, I echoed, circling the bench like a duelist. There was never an us. Just your ladder, and me as the wrong. He lunged then, not for the bottle, but for the emergency shutdown switch, the one that would wipe servers clean. I was faster, tackling him to the tile, the impact jarring my teeth. We grappled, a tangle of limbs and lies, his breath hot on my neck. I loved you, damn it. But you were expendable. Lies, I gasped, knee to his gut, pinning him. Sirens wailed distant. My anonymous tip to the feds, time to the minute. Door burst open. Agents, badges gleaming, hauling him up in cuffs. As they Mirandized him, his eyes locked on mine. Hatred pure as distilled venom. This isn't over, Harmony. You'll burn with me. But it was. Victor rolled over in plea deals. The syndicate crumbled under RICO charges. Elias? Life without parole, his empire ash. Yet the twist came in the quiet aftermath, spring blooming defiant. A letter from lockup. Not rage, but confession. I didn't kill you, it read. The cell was your choice. But I loaded the gun. Forgive? No. Understand? Maybe. I burned it in the lab incinerator, watching flames dance like vindicated ghosts. Forgiveness was for the weak. I'd chosen strength, controversial as it was, bending rules, breaking bonds, emerging scarred but sovereign. Now, 2 years on, I helm the lab, grants flowing clean, my name on the paper that changed the world. Mom visits from Ohio, oblivious to the war I'd waged. And in quiet moments, I wonder, was rebirth mercy or curse? The rage fades, but the fire? It warms. No regrets, just reckoning. The victory lap felt like walking on glass shards, sharp, inevitable, cutting deeper with each step. By January, the headlines had shifted from scandal to salvation. Whistleblower postdoc saves Stanford from fraud abyss. My face splashed across the Times, that determined photo from the symposium, hair windswept, eyes like flint. Reporters camped my doorstep, thrusting mics like bayonets. Dr. Ellis, did love turn to loathing? Was it personal or principled? I dodged with sound bites honed in ethics seminars. It's about integrity in science. The rest is noise. But inside, the noise roared, a cacophony of what-ifs. What if I'd played along longer, gathered ironclad proof without the garage showdown? What if Victor's goon had been trigger-happy instead of just thuggish? Mom called nightly, voice quivering over cross-country lines. Honey, the news says you're a hero, but you sound hollow. Come home for Christmas. Christmas 23 was a farce of tinsel and tension, me flying coach to Cleveland, burying the drama under her famous pierogies and stories of Dad's old law firm gripes. He'd be proud, she said, clinking eggnog glasses by the tree. Fighting the good fight, like he did against those crooked developers. Dad, dead a decade from cancer, the straight-arrow attorney who'd taught me scales of justice weren't always balanced. I nodded, throat tight, wondering if he'd approve of my shortcuts, the hacked files, the staged confrontations. Heroism's a spectrum, and mine skewed gray. Back in Palo Alto, the university brass threw a gala in my honor. Irony's bitter champagne. At the Hoover Auditorium, chandeliers dripping like guilty tears. Lena cornered me by the charcuterie, her laugh a lifeline. You're the talk of the town, kid. But watch your back. Academia eats its young, then picks its teeth with their bones. She wasn't wrong. Whispers slithered through the crowd. Junior faculty eyeing my vacated office, donors hedging bets on the reformed program. And then there was Theo, Elias's protege, a slick Yale import with a jawline like chiseled marble and ethics as flexible as wet spaghetti. He'd been the one feeding me doubts in the first life, planting seeds of Elias knows best during coffee runs. Now he sidled up, flute in hand, smile all teeth. Harmony, a toast to phoenixes. You've risen, impressively. His eyes raked me, lingering on the curve of my neckline, and I suppressed the urge to shatter the glass against his temple. Theo, still carrying water for the old regime. He chuckled, low and lubricated. Water? Nah, I'm all about the wine these days. Elias was. Misguided. But you? You're the future. Care to collaborate? My neural mapping tech could synergize with your implants. Synergize. The word slimed out, echoing the boardroom buzzwords Elias loved. I sipped, buying time. In the reboot, I'd pegged Theo as collateral, loyal to Elias, but ambitious enough to flip. A quick scan of his LinkedIn, pre-leak purge, showed co-authored papers riddled with ghost data, his name rubber-stamped on the fraud. Maybe, I demurred. Send me the white paper. We'll see if it holds water. By dawn, his email hit, attachments bursting with proprietary code, footnotes citing preliminary trials that smelled of Reno reruns. I forwarded to Jake, now embedded at ProPublica, with a note. Bait taken. Reel him in. The sting unfolded over weeks, a slow bleed. Theo's invites escalated. Dinners at the French Laundry, where Napa cabs loosened tongues. Hikes in the dish, where trail dust masked the scent of desperation. He talked big. Elias bottled it, but we can uncork the real magic. Offshore partners, untapped grants. Partners, plural. Victor's ghost lingered, But Theo named names. Silicon Valley VCs with ties to Eastern pipelines, laundering through crypto-veiled innovation funds. One night, Post saw Sausalito's sunset cruise, his yacht, naturally, he cracked. Anchored in the bay, stars pricking the velvet dark, he poured third scotch. Truth? Elias was small time. I'm scaling. You in or out? I straddled the gunnel, wind whipping my hair, recorder discreet in my clutch. In. But details, Theo. Convince me. He did. Monologues of shell companies, Bitcoin drops, patient data auctions on the dark web. By the time we docked, I had enough to sink a fleet. But controversy knocked again. Leak it all, and innocence. Overworked admins, duped undergrads, collateral in the crossfire. Or play prosecutor, feeding the DOJ piecemeal, letting the machine grind slow but sure. I chose the machine, but with a twist. Anonymous drops to the Chronicle, time to Theo's next big pitch. The morning after, his TEDx talk on ethical AI and neurotech aired live, to a feed exploding with on-screen cheerings. Breaking, Stanford professor linked to international fraud ring. Chaos cascaded. His slides froze mid-demo, audience murmurs swelling to shouts. He bolted backstage, phoning me in panic. Harmony? What the fuck? You set me up. Consider it tuition, I said, voice ice over the line. For believing charm trumps conscience. He vanished that week. Rumors of a sabbatical in Belize. But Jake's sources pinned him in a Miami penthouse, negotiating immunity. The board convened emergency sessions. My name floated for interim directorship. Lena pulled strings. By February, it was mine. The lab thrummed anew, scrubbed of shadows. My first grant proposal, pure, peer-reviewed, netting 7 figures from squeaky clean philanthropists. But Rebirth's bill came due in quiet ways. Nightmares of the cell persisted, waking me in sweats, tasting bile. Dates fizzled, guys sensing the armor, the urine tints brush-offs. And mom's health dipped, a fall in the kitchen, hip fracture, pulling me east for weeks of hospital vigils. You don't have to carry it all, she murmured from her bed, morphine soft. Whoever hurt you, let it go. Let it go? The words mocked. I'd let nothing go, it fueled me. Yet in her frailty, doubt bloomed. Was revenge restitution, or recursion, trapping me in Elias's cycle? Spring quarter hit like a reset button. Fresh faces, blooming jacarandas painting campus purple. I mentored a cohort of wide-eyed postdocs, drilling ethics into their skulls like catechism. Science saves, I lectured, but only if we guard the gate. One, a sharp kid named Mia from Detroit, lingered after. Prof, the stories. They say you took down giants. How'd you know when to fight? I paused at the whiteboard, marker squeaking finality. When silence costs more than the storm. Our bond deepened over office hours and off-site burritos, her hood upbringing mirroring my Rust Belt roots. She confided dreams of cracking Alzheimer's code, sans the sleaze. In her, I saw second chances multiplied, not just mine, but echoes. Yet the past clawed back in May. A manila envelope unmarked on my desk. Photos, grainy but damning. Me in the garage scuffle, time-stamped. A note, typed sterile. One call to the DA, and your self-defense unravels. Walk away, or we both fall. TC. Theo. The rat, gnawing from the woodwork. My pulse thundered. Had I miscalculated? The pics painted me aggressor, his bulk no match for my frenzy. Controversy incarnate. Release them, and I'm the hysteric ex, torching my cred. Suppress, and he owns me. I called in favors. Lena's PI, a grizzled ex-fed named Ruiz, who traced the drop to a Queens P.O. box, Theo's alias. Kid, Ruiz growled over burner. This guy's desperate. Cornered dogs bite wild. We set the trap at the annual bioethics conference in D.C., neutral ground, high profile. I keynote on Trust in the Tower, slides laced with veiled warnings. Theo slunk in late, incognito in a ball cap, but I spotted him row 10, sweat beading despite the AC. Post-talk Q&A, as flashes popped, I ad-libbied. A question on Fallout? Sometimes, the real ethic is exposing the enablers, the ones who whisper just this once. Murmurs rippled. He bolted for the exit. Outside, Ruiz waited in the rain-slicked alley, cuffs at ready. But Theo wasn't alone. Flanked by 2 suits, VCs from his pitch deck, briefcases bulging. Dr. Ellis, the taller one drawled, Southern drawl dripping oil. We represent interests. Drop the pursuit, or your funding dries up. Permanently. The threat landed like a gut punch. My grant pipeline, Mia's future, the lab's lifeline. Decision point, razor-edged. Fold for the greater good, or fight and risk famine. Fuck your interests. I spat, Ruiz signaling backup. Sirens wailed, feds swarming from vans. My tip-off, coordinated with DOJ. The suits scattered, but Theo froze, eyes pleading. Harmony, please. I was just following. I finished, as agents zip-tied him. Like Elias. Birds of a feather, Theo. Enjoy the cage. The bust made national news. Academic fraud ring cracked. Postdoc hero strikes again. Vindication, but hollow. Back in the hotel, alone with room service regrets. I cracked, sobbing into the pillows, the weight of 2 lives crashing. Rebirth wasn't freedom, it was freight, heavier each mile. June brought closure of sorts. Trial dates set, Elias and Theo in adjacent docks, their empires eviscerated. Mom recovered, visiting campus for graduation, beaming as I hooded Mia's cohort. You've built something real, she said, hugging fierce. Real. The word anchored. Revenge had raised the rot, but renewal? That was the art. Still, in the lab's hush, staring at neural scans, ghosts of minds mended, I pondered the twist. Maybe the greatest betrayal wasn't theirs, but time's. I'd died for love's illusion, reborn for justice's grind. Worth it? In the data's dance, yes. In the heart's quiet? Debatable. But debate was for philosophers. I had papers to publish. Summer 24 unfurled like a banner of fragile peace. Bay Area heat waves miraging the horizon. Barbecues on El Camino lawns masking the undercurrents of rebuild. The lab pulsed with purpose. Mia leading the Reno retrial, now transparent as glass. Patient scans yielding breakthroughs that whispered of cures. My directorship solidified. Board meetings a parade of mea culpas and fat checks. You're our lodestar, Harmony. The dean gushed over steak at the Palo Alto grill. His tie loosened like his inhibitions. I smiled, clinking forks, but inside, the lodestar flickered, burning 2 bright risks blackout. The mail brought the first omen, a plea from Elias's lawyer, gold embossed stationery begging a victim impact statement. Your words could sway sentencing. It could. Sway? I'd sway nothing. Mercy was a luxury I'd bankrupted. But curiosity, that serpent, tempted. I scheduled the depot at San Quentin. The drive up highway won a meditation in cliffs and crashes, much like my arc. The visitor's room reeked of bleach and broken men. Elias shuffled in orange, shackles clinking like bad poetry. Age had hollowed him. Cheeks gaunt, eyes recessed, the Adonis eroded to gargoyle. Harmony, he rasped, chains rattling as he sat. You came. Not for you. I said, recorder off, just us and the ghosts. For me, to see if the monster's real, or just the mask. He leaned forward, veins bulging like mapped roads to ruin. Monster? I made you. Pushed you to brilliance. The transfer, it was a test. You failed by folding. Folded. Laughter barked out, sharp as shattered stemware. You folded me into your forgery, Elias. The confession, the cell, your script. His gaze dropped, then lifted sly. And you'd do it again. For the right prize. That's the real twist, isn't it? We're the same. Hungry, willing to devour for the feast. Same. The word poisoned, but truth's venom lingers. Hadn't I hacked, manipulated, courted controversy to carve my throne? The line between avenger and architect blurred in his mirror. I came to say this. I pressed, voice steel. You don't know my story anymore. Rot in it. As guards led him away, his parting shot echoed. Check the basement files. The ones you missed. Sweet dreams, love. Basement files. The lab's archive, dusty catacomb beneath the quad, keycard locked and forgotten. That night, flashlight in hand, I descended. Cobwebs veiling shelves of moldering binders, air thick as regret. Elias's label, legacy, HEC. Heart hammering. I cracked the first, not fraud ledgers, but love letters, hundreds, scrawled in his hand to me, pre-gala, pre-grant. My Harmony, you're the synapse firing my soul. Marry me after the paper drops. Build empires, not just labs. Yours eternal, E. Tears blurred ink, forgery or farewell. Deeper, blueprints for the neural implant, my ideas sketched in his script, stolen seeds I'd planted in pillow talks, germinated in his glory. Betrayal's root ran subterranean, devouring from below. Worst, a paternity test, dated last spring, my suicide, weeks prior. Positive. A daughter, conceived in Scotch haze, adopted out quietly to shield the scandal. His note: she'll never know the mother who chose death over fight. Chose. The lie ignited fury anew, but laced with grief's gut wrench. I died unknowing, robbed of choice. Twist upon twist, revenge's child, orphaned by my own hand, metaphorical, fatal. Dawn found me on the lab roof, city sprawling below like a circuit board, fog burning off to reveal the sprawl. Call the agency? Disrupt her life for mine? Or let sleep the secret, a mercy I couldn't muster for him? Mia knocked mid-meltdown, coffee in hand. Prof, you look like you wrestled a theorem and lost. I pulled her up top, spilling the saga, omitting the baby, testing waters. Ever wonder if justice leaves loose ends? Ones that unravel you. She pondered, legs dangling over the edge. Then tie him off your way. Not his. My way. The phrase unlocked. I traced the adoption thread. Private, sealed, but Ruiz's network cracked it. Lila Croellis, 6 months old, thriving with a couple in Marin, piano lessons and puppy parks. No voids yet. Why puncture? Elias's trial loomed July 4th weekend. Ironic fireworks for his finale. I testified, voice unwavering. Impact statements of shattered trust, stolen futures, lives upended. The judge nodded, gavel falling. Life, no parole. Theo got 20, his VCs 15 apiece. Cheers in the gallery, but mine muted. Victories echo hollow without wholeness. August healed in increments. Therapy sessions with a Jungian shrink specializing in professional traumas, unpacking the cell shadow. Mom relocated west, renting a bungalow near campus. Her laughter filling Sundays with brisket and board games. You're blooming, kiddo, she said, eyeing my latest scan results. Breakthroughs mounted. First human trials greenlit. Headlines hailing Ellis effect in memory restoration. But the true rebirth crested in September, anniversary of the glitch. I stood in that old apartment, now sublet to grads, toasting ghosts with boxed wine. No rage, just resolve. The basement files. Shredded, ashes scattered in the bay, legacy reclaimed. Lila's photo, swiped from a preschool site, stayed tucked in my wallet. Chubby cheeks, my eyes, a reminder not of loss, but potential. Someday, when she's ready, teen angst or quarter-life crisis, I'll bridge the gap. Not as ghost mom, but guide. For now, she dreams innocent. I guard that. Campus fall quarter buzzed electric. Leaves turning, lectures packed. Mia co-authored my next grant, her name bold on the abstract. Lena retired with fanfare, whispering at the roast. You didn't just avenge harmony. You evolved. Evolved. From fall guy to force of nature. The hook of it all. Death's gift was depth, layers peeled to reveal the core, not vengeance, but vitality. As winter rains lashed anew, I paused at the window, city lights fracturing like neural nets firing. Elias's words, echoed faint, were the same. No, I was more, forged in fire, tempered in flood. No regrets, just renaissance. And in the quiet, a final hook. Life's the ultimate twist. You die, you rise, you rewrite. The end, merely ellipsis.